Often imitated, never duplicated. It's Rob Kendall Show. And that's the thing about our show, and you guys have been a massive part of that. In 2 weeks, we have made everyone better. We make the politicians better. We make the elected officials better. We make the media personalities better. And we make the media companies better. And that's what we're doing here, and everybody knows it. And that's the goal. The goal is to serve you. The goal is to give you the media you deserve. And that's what we're doing every single day here with the Rob Kendall Show. There may be people who try to be like us, and that's okay. But there's only one place you're going to get this every single day, right here. Rob Kendall Show, 10 to noon, live on YouTube, and then on demand, wherever you get your podcast. Man, we have a red-hot show for you today. Tons of stuff to get to. Adam Wren from Politico is going to be with us. He is going to talk about how are these state Senate challengers doing? You know, these people that Trump has supported, that have gone to the White House, that Trump has said, I'm going to beat these incumbent state senators in Indiana who voted against redistricting. Adam Wren has a piece coming out talking about how they're actually doing. How much money are they raising? Who's behind them? We're going to give you all the details on what's going on in the state Senate primaries across the state of Indiana on the Republican side. Trump has a lot riding on this. Can he pull it off? And then the big interview later today. Greg Ballard, former mayor of Indianapolis, Republican mayor of Indianapolis, now running as an independent candidate for Secretary of State. He will be with us. We'll talk about how's he going to get 37,000 signatures? How's he going to run his campaign? Why are the Republicans freaking out about him? And we'll talk a little bit about his time as mayor of Indianapolis. What were some of his biggest accomplishments? What are some things he'd like to do over again? That's coming up today, right here, Rob Kendall Show. Before we get to the program today, a couple of reminders, a couple of announcements. First of all, if you haven't, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I am setting a lot. By the way, you guys have been phenomenal. The first 2 weeks, unbelievable how good you guys have been. And we think we can do better for all of us, right? Just remember, every person you're telling about our show, you are doing your part to make government better, to make it more accountable. And look, the media's upping their game too because of what we're doing. And that's great. That's what we want. Wherever we've been, we've always changed the game. And I said this for a long time. It doesn't matter what platform we're on. Whether it was in my bedroom, whether it's here, wherever, we're going to make a difference. We're going to have an impact, unlike anybody else, because you are having an impact, unlike anybody else. Us, we're in this together. And so for every person you tell about our show, you're not just helping producer Jason and myself, which you are, and we're very grateful for that. But you're helping yourself, and you're helping better government in the state of Indiana. You're helping hold these politicians accountable. Because let's face it, you're getting stuff here that you're not going to get anywhere else. That's what we do every day in a way that nobody else can do it. So please, if you haven't, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm setting a lofty goal for us to try to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the week. I know that's a lot to ask, and we may not get there. But every time we've asked you guys to step up, to help us so far, you have 100% delivered. You guys have been amazing. And I believe in you, and producer Jason believes in you. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends to do it. It helps us out so much. Also, share this feed. We need the show to grow, and the way it's going to grow is organically with you sharing the feed. Just a simple share on YouTube, simple share on Facebook. That will help us out so much growing this show. Also, one other thing. Many of you said, "Hey, look, I want to know how I can support you." Couple of ways. Number one, and you guys have done this, and it's been great. Our advertisers, people helping us be able to afford to buy the things that make it possible for us to do this for you. Let them know you've heard their advertisements. Vent Savvy, Bramwell Mackay, Tell them you've heard the advertisement. Even if you don't need the service in the moment, that goes so far, and it takes 20 seconds. Send an email, make the phone call, whatever. Just say, hey, heard you on Rob's show. They love that. We have new people that are coming on board because they've heard, they watch. There's all sorts of people watching right now. This is the thing about this program. There's all sorts of people watching because they're thinking about next moves, whether it's guests, whether it's politicians, and advertisers. And over the past week, they have seen, they have heard, hey, if we support the Rob Kendall Show, we're going to get people that are going to contact us. That is so big. I talked to somebody just the other day who said that, who said, I'm going to come on board because I've heard how well the people who have been on board with you from the beginning are doing with your very loyal viewer base. Look, the amount of time you guys are spending on average watching and listening to this program, there are media companies across this country who would give an arm for that. And we got to grow it, right? We're small, but we are mighty right now. And so one of the things that you guys can do is contact the people that are supporting this show and let them know that you appreciate them being a part of the Rob Kendall Show. Second thing, we have the support button up at robkendallshow.com. It's all of us in this together. If you like what we do, if you value what we're giving you each day, and you feel compelled, throw a few shekels our way. We are going to maximize every dollar that is given. We're going to get the most out of it. Every dollar you give us in support, we'll get the most out of it to hold our politicians accountable, to support and promote good government, to do interviews. We want to start doing new things, which we're going to do. All of this stuff because we are a lean, mean fighting machine. We're in a very small studio, and it's producer Jason and myself. That's the overhead, guys. So thank you. And by the way, we're going to be reading some names here in just a little bit of the people who donated over the past day. Want to thank those people. We always will do our best. I will do my best to send you a thank you note, personal thank you note, email, and to read the names of the people on the air who are supporting us, because that is how we're going to continue to thrive and drive this thing forward. So wanted to get those things out of the way. The support button, robkendallshow.com. That's how you can help us. Okay, long first segment today. So buckle up. We got a lot to get into. And, you know, Jason and I were talking about making the template each day. We kind of go back and forth on what we want to do, how we want to do it. And I said, well, it's kind of be a long segment today to start the show. And he goes, you can do that now. It's your deal. You do whatever you want to do. I said, oh, yeah, that's right. So let's get right to it. And we start with the story that came out. That actually just came out this morning. It wasn't even available last night, from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. Of course, we love the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. And it is another example of how a very powerful person in state government is in the legalized vote buying operation. And we use that term legalized vote buying because that's exactly what goes on all over the place, at the state level, at the federal level, at the local level. And what I'm talking about is where government takes money from you and gives it to a very select group of people, or does things for a very select group of people that is designed to get their vote, designed to benefit a select group of people. If you or you can't, quote unquote, buy a vote. You can't hand somebody money and say, vote for me. But you can do it through government projects, government resources. And that's what our government does. They take money from us and they give it to things that benefit select groups of people that they want to vote for them. And oftentimes, as we're about to talk about, it is horribly spent, it is unaccountable, it is wasteful, and we get horrible bang for our buck. So let me tell you about the latest example of this. From the Indiana Capitol Chronicle, our old pal, and nobody does this better than him, Diego Morales, Indiana Secretary of State. So the Secretary of State's office is in charge of auto dealers. And it's one of the many things, right? We have told you this Secretary of State race, and we'll get into this Greg Ballard later. The Secretary of State's race is so important because I think you can make a compelling case, save for the governor of our state. The Secretary of State's office is the second most important office in the entire state of Indiana. It oversees such a wide depth of stuff that's very important. Obviously, the two primary things that get all the attention are business licensure and elections. But the Secretary of State oversees a whole bunch of other things, including auto dealers. And so one of the things that Diego Morales and his office have done is spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of your money to provide, quote unquote, free history reports on automobiles. So, like when you are looking at an automobile, you go somewhere or a dealer will do this with you if you're trying to sell an automobile. They pull a history of the automobile. Was it in an accident? What is the history of this automobile? Have things happened that I need to know about? What has gone on with this automobile so that I know if I'm purchasing it, I'm getting what's being presented to me. Now, this is a private sector function. This is something the private sector does and does quite well. There was not some need for government to do it, not some need that this is not something that we can't get anywhere else. This is an act of the government taking money from people and giving it away to other people to provide a quote unquote free service. Of course, it's 100% not free. You're paying for it, because the government wants you to think that they're doing something on your behalf. When in reality, as we're about to get into, all they're doing is taking money from you, your hard-earned money, and they're giving you a horrible return on that money, doing something that's already being done quite well in the private sector. So Diego Morales decided his office, in a legalized vote buying operation, because he wants you to be able to do this and go, oh, look at that Secretary of State. He lets me get the credit, or gets the vehicle history report for free. Isn't he a great guy? Isn't he wonderful? Look at how he's caring about me. When in reality, we're all paying for it. So what he did was he's already spent more than, according to the Capitol Chronicle, more than $333,000 on a program that enables you to get the vehicle history report on a vehicle without charge to you in the moment. Now, of course, you're being charged because it's your money that's being used. There's not a money factory, or there's not a money farm that Diego grew this money out of the ground. It's money that comes into a division of his office, and he's spending it on this. It's your money. Once the money comes into the government, it is your money. And so he's using your money to do this. Now, what's fascinating is that the state, according to the Capitol Chronicle, paid for the equivalent of 120,000 reports per year. So that $333,000 was supposed to cover 120,000 reports at a cost of, what was it? It was roughly $2.80 a report, I believe is what they were going to pay. Now, this is what's fascinating. On the private sector side, that report will run you $2.38 per report is what the state was paying. So they paid for in advance. Like you get a discount if you pay in advance. They paid for 120,000 of these reports per year at $2.38 per report. In the private sector, that report would cost you somewhere between probably $20 and $25 to get the report on your own. Now, the problem with this is, well, of course, the problem is the private sector already does it. Government shouldn't be doing. Government should do things that people can't do for themselves. That should be the job of government, and really the only job of government. Like a military, the police, the fire, the roads, the sidewalks. Hey, that's something you can't really do on your own. It's a collective, right? It serves the collective community. Not things that are already being done fine in the private sector. So the state of Indiana paid $330,000 last year for 120,000 of these vehicle reports. The problem is only 2,150 people use them. Let me repeat that, because this is the most government thing ever. When we talk about legalized vote buying, when we talk about waste, when we talk about unaccountable government, this is what we're talking about. I present to you Exhibit A. The state paid for 120,000 of these reports, according to the Indiana Capitol Chronicle. The state used 2,150. That is almost 100 118,000 of these reports that went unused that we paid for at $2.38 a piece. We paid for almost 118,000 reports that went unused. Let's do some math on this. Let's take 333,000, divide it by 2150. I had to use a calculator to do that. I'm a product of the public education system. But 333,000 divided by 2,150 is $154.88 per report. The taxpayers paid $154.88 per report for something that costs you between $20 and $25 on the open market. That's your government. That's your Indiana Secretary of State. And by the way, this unaccountable bullcrap is the stuff he's been pulling from day one for the past almost 3.5 years now. What a colossal waste of taxpayer money. No money to help you with property taxes. No money to backfill. Remember last year, the state's broke. No money to pay our bills without raising taxes by $1 billion. But the state had $333,000 to essentially throw away. By the way, price per unit, 2,150 vehicle reports between July 2025 and February 2026. Do you know how much that should have cost us at $2.38 a report if you just paid for them by the report? $5,100. What do we pay? $333,000. Almost $328,000 just thrown down the drain. No money to help you with necessities. No money to fix I-70 without $6.5 billion of tax increases. But we had plenty of money for this. And by the way, none of these Republicans in the State House are going to say a word about this. These people that are having aneurysms over Greg Ballard running as an independent, you're not going to hear a word from any of these people. They're not going to speak up because it's not about you. Any one of these Republican State House members or State Senate members that is bitching about Greg Ballard running as an independent, why don't you ask them, why aren't they having this same fervor and passion for Diego Morales pissing away $300,000 plus of your money? Ask them that. See what they have to say about that. Another example of these people not caring at all about you or about your money, and there's never money to do the necessities. Fix the roads, fund the schools. Never money for any of the necessities without raising your taxes. But there's plenty of money for Diego Morales to throw $300,000 away on unused vehicle reports. That's Indiana politics. That's Indiana government. That is your Indiana Republican Party. All right. First of all, want to read some names of some of the fine people who have contributed to our show, who are supporting our show over at robkendallshow.com. We got the support button up there. Many of you have been donating or supporting in the last day. We certainly appreciate that because you value the show. You value what we're doing. And we certainly appreciate any level of support you want to give to Rob Kendall Show, robkendallshow.com. Thanks to Jan, Andy, Mark, Richard, Lee, and Robert. All of these guys have given very generously over the past day. Tried to get all of you guys thank you notes for the most part. I don't have every one of them sent out yet, but my goal is to finish that up today. Thank you guys. We so appreciate every person who has been supporting the Rob Kendall Show. Find that button at robkendallshow.com. Let me tell you about my friends at Vent Savvy. Speaking of the Rob Kendall Show and supporting the Rob Kendall Show, Vent Savvy, they are all over it. Can I tell you something about homeowners that most don't realize? A lot of bathroom exhaust fans were installed wrong from day one. They're either too small for the room or they're not even vented properly to the outside. So when you take a hot shower, that moisture isn't leaving your house. It's getting pushed into the ceiling or the attic. And when that happens, there could be mold, and where mold and insulation problems start is right there. That's why you should call our friends at Vent Savvy. They fix it the right way, properly sized, properly vented. It's like anything else, guys. You get what you pay for. And Vent Savvy, they do quality work. Go to ventsavvy.com, VENTSAVVY.com. That's VENTSAVVY.com. Or call 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection. That's right, John, the owner of Vent Savvy. When you mention Rob, he's going to come out to your house totally free. He'll take a look around. He'll say, hey, this is good. He'll say, hey, oh, I see a problem over here. He's going to give you all the information. Then you make the choice. And there's no charge for any of that. When you head over to ventsavvy.com, VENTSAVVY.com, and mention Rob or call 317-300-4434. Thanks to Vent Savvy supporting the Rob Kendall Show. All right, guys, follow up on something that we did the other day, and I'm getting more of it. Talk about wasting your money. Talk about legalized vote buying. Talk about abusing the system. I got another one of these letters, these newspapers from Greg Ballard, or from Greg Ballard, not from Greg Ballard. Maybe I'll get one from him too. Who knows? Probably not. From Jim Baird, Congressman, 4th Congressional District. I got again, look at this. Look at this thing. Look at the printing on it is beautiful. It's like a newspaper. It's multiple pages. I can't imagine what the postage was on this thing. The cost of this. You guys remember last week, I got one. What this is, so this is 2 weeks in a row now I've got them. By the way, if you can see this, I let my kid color on it because it's a complete waste of everything. So the one thing it was good for is letting my kid color on it, and it kept her entertained for a few minutes. But this is what they call, again, frank mail. This is different than the one I showed you guys last week. I thought, it's like, did they screw up and send it to me again? No, it's a different one. It's a different one. Oh, keep it down. Thanks, Jason. Well, I'm just trying to show this to her. Is it not in the camera? There we go. Is that better? Okay. Anyway, so what this is what they call frank mail. It is legalized campaigning by office holders using your tax money. These people are using your hard-earned money to campaign for themselves, and they're able to get away with it. They're able to get around it because they write the rules by saying, well, it's for my office. If I technically talk about only office business and I don't tell you to vote for me, well, then that's okay. We can get away with that. We're allowed to do that. It's just like the insider trading. These Congress people do things that if any of the rest of us did it, we would go directly to federal prison. They do it, and it's completely fine. There's nothing on here that's of value to me. There's nothing on here that's of value to you. There's nothing that you would go, oh, I really needed to know this. There's no other way I would know this unless this very expensive printed and mailed piece of propaganda came to my house. There's no way anybody would need any of this. This is campaigning using taxpayer money. And Jim Baird is one of the worst abusers in the U.S. Congress of this frank mail. It's gross. We're $35 trillion in debt. We have no money, and this guy is sending out propaganda pieces. Let me read you the headline on the front. And again, it looks like a campaign piece because it is. But it says, Congressman Baird commends President Trump's State of the Union address. Who gives two craps, or how does that benefit any of us as taxpayers to know Congressman Baird commends President Trump's State of the Union address? That doesn't benefit anyone. It benefits his campaign, which is what he's doing. He's tying himself to Donald Trump. That in no way benefits you. Let me read you some of the other Congressman Baird, working for Indiana's 4th District every day, out and about in the district. How does my life as a taxpayer get benefited in any shape, form, or fashion, knowing that Jim Baird met with law enforcement in Tippecanoe County? Or he's, quote, supporting farmers in Putnam County. By the way, he's in a short sleeve shirt in this video. So unless he's just a guy, and so is the guy with him, unless they're people who would just 20-degree weather wear short sleeve shirts, that's a file photo. That's an old photo. That's not recent. And I got one of these last week. So he's not even telling me week to week what he's doing. How is my life in any way made better that he's on the telephone congratulating students on acceptance to their U.S. service academies? Great. Glad he's doing it. How, as a taxpayer, does that benefit me? What do I get out of that? Meeting with Morgan County students. Who the hell cares? Okay, you're doing that as a congressman. Great. Meeting with veterans in Hendricks County. There's not any policy here. There's not anything like you need to know about this because this is going to better your life, or you can file for this thing, or this is the new tax law. None of it. None of it. Not that it would make it okay anyway. It is just propaganda. Propaganda that we're paying for. Congressman Bear joins President Trump for White House's beautiful clean coal executive order signing. Who cares? That doesn't do anything for any of us. And all of these Congress, or almost all of them, are doing this. You know, we blow a gasket when someone like Diego Morales uses taxpayer resources to film himself with the Marion County election workers. And we should, because it's gross. We should, because it's ridiculous. But we need to be upset when all of these people do this. We need to be upset when all of these people abuse our hard-earned money, which we don't have any of anyway. He's just abusing. Jim Barrett is disgusting because he's abusing future generations' money, my kids' money, because she's going to have to pay his tab. How disgusting is that? Pay my tab, says Jim Barrett. He is the equivalent of a professional diner and dasher, where everywhere he goes, somebody else picking up the tab. You're watching the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks so much. Let me tell you about our friends over at Bramwell Mackay. Leaking chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry, foundation, and chimney specialist. BramwellMackay.com. That's BramwellMCKay.com. Longtime and very big supporters of the Rob Kendall Show. Okay, nationally, and this will affect us back home. You know, we talk about the national stuff if it affects us here back home. And nationally, this will affect us back home, so we're going to get into it. Donald Trump announced yesterday, President Trump, that he is releasing part of the strategic oil reserves. This is a report, this article, according to The Hill. President Trump has announced that he plans to release 172 million barrels of oil. He was in Ohio yesterday for an event. He told a local television station there, he said, quote, "I filled it up once, I'll fill it up again, but right now we'll reduce it a little bit, and that brings the prices down." So let's talk a little bit about the details, right? Because this stuff sounds good. Let's talk about the real impact based on previous times this has been done, and let's talk about how long, and this is what the politicians won't tell you, how long this will actually take to come into effect. So what he's doing today is going to have zero immediate good. What Trump is doing right now in terms of this action, now other things may have an impact, but right now this action will have zero immediate good. Why? Because the energy secretary, his name is Chris Wright, said it's going to take 120 days to fully implement. Guys, that's 4 months. April, May, June, July. We're to mid-July before this is fully implemented. It's going to have zero immediate good. Now, over time, throughout the course of those 4 months, yes, it may have some level of reduction. It may have some level of benefit, and that's great. But in the terms of the immediate future, don't expect gas prices to stop dropping. As part of this, and this actually matters because it's part of a world-based solution, the International Energy Agency, which the U.S. is a member, so the U.S. is releasing 170 members, said that collectively its members are going to release 400 million barrels as part of an effort to bring down prices stemming from the price spike stemming from the U.S.'s decision to attack Iran. By the way, programming note, Tuesday, oil guy, longtime friend of Rob Kendall Industries, the oil guy, Bill Herrick's going to be with us. We love Bill. He has been in the oil industry for many, many years. Midwest Energy Partners is the company that he owns and runs, and he understands oil prices, how they go up, how they go down. Bill's going to be with us on Tuesday to do a deep dive on all of this stuff and help you explain exactly what's going on. One of the great things about what we do, we can go long form. We don't have anything we have to get to or any break we're going to be up against. We can go for as long as we need to go, and he's got a ton of information for us to give you on exactly what's going on with oil prices and how that affects gas. That's Bill Herrick coming up on Tuesday. Now, let's give you some perspective on the impact what Trump and the world is doing may have on oil prices. Now, look, if the conflict with Iran, if the war with Iran, whatever you want to call it, if that wraps up and there's some sort of agreement reached, then that'll have a much bigger impact on what's going on here. There's great destabilization in the oil markets. There's great destabilization in the world economy right now because of what's going on with Iran. Who's going to be the ultimate leader? How is that person going to respond? How are the people of Iran going to respond? Look, the uprising that Trump predicted was going to happen has not happened yet. Have you guys noticed that? That's sort of been lost in the shuffle, that the people of Iran are not fighting. We were also told that was going to happen in Iraq, right? Remember that? The people of Iraq were going to take control and the good people were going to finally have their moment in the sun. That's not happening. The Iranian people are not toppling the government, which was a massive part of Trump's plan here. But regardless of that, whatever is going to go down, it could change dramatically in a day, it could change dramatically in a month, it could change dramatically in a week. But for argument's sake, here is the most recent example of a president releasing some of the strategic oil reserves and the world community releasing oil reserves in order to try to lower the price of gas. And that came in 2022. In 2022, Joe Biden, that was the Ukrainian stuff and where Biden basically gave Putin a free pass to go into Ukraine. In 2022, Biden released 180 million barrels. So really, right on par with what Trump is doing. Trump, for reference, is releasing 172 million. Biden released 180 million. The world community only released an additional 60. Now, collectively, the world community is releasing 400 million, including the U.S. Collectively in 2022, if you add the 180 with the 60, that's about 240. So the release in 2022 was roughly, what would you call that? 65, 70% of what's going on or planned to go on over the next four-ish months. When Biden released that and the world released that 240 million barrels in 2022, gas fell by about 20 cents. So if you say 20 cents was 70%, what are you getting? An additional, let's just put it on the high side. Let's give all the benefit. Let's say it's 30 cents. So 4 months from now, gas might be down 30 cents. That's not a lot, considering gas has gone up in many places close to $1 over the past couple of weeks. And if that's sustained over the next 4 months or goes up more, that 30 cents, it ain't going to do you much good. Look, the president, I know why he's doing this. It's a headline. It looks like I'm doing something. The reality is the decision to invade Iran, to strike Iran, has caused and will continue to cause great pain to the world economically. Great disruption to the world economically. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing what the president did. We've laid it out for you. In fact, the first segment we ever did on the Rob Kendall Show was to lay out how there are two options to deal with Iran. Ignore them completely. Try to put some sort of economic safeguards with your allies. Accept that they're going to be the world's largest state sponsor of terror and eventually something really bad is going to happen. Or you can do what Trump's doing now and try to cripple the whole government. Both have their merits. Both are worthy arguments. But invading Iran, attacking Iran, is going to cause, and we're going to get into this later on in the program, the AP has a story. In fact, I may just go ahead and do it now because it'll tie in. The AP has a story about this, about how Iran, by their own standards, may actually be winning this battle. And maybe we'll get that here in a second. But the reality is the cost of gas tied to oil is not going to drop dramatically because of any action the president is going to take. He can't do it. I'm not saying Trump is doing bad. I'm not saying he's not trying. I'm simply saying there's not enough oil in the strategic reserves, even though 172 sounds like a lot, even though 400 million sounds like a lot. The reality is, based on previous actions taken not that all that long ago, the best you're going to get is about 30 cents. Now, let's go ahead and real quick, let's talk about this article from the Associated Press with Iran. And they did a big dive on who's actually winning this war. Because if you think about it on the surface, and how does this affect us? If you think about it on the surface, you go, well, we're obliterating Iran. We're blowing all this stuff up. We're killing all their leaders. Clearly, the U.S. must be winning this war with Iran. And in terms of death toll or human sacrifice or, economic calamity, of course. The U.S. has not been attacked by the Iranians, so we're not feeling any, our buildings aren't being blown up. We have tragically lost service members already, but the service members that we have lost, if you're just doing a purely numbers game, we've lost a fraction of what the Iranians have lost, and they're losing their leaders and everything else. But this comes down to what is actual success. How do you actually define winning? And in the case of the Iranians, they are judging this by the same standard that the Iraqis and the Afghanistan people used when we went into those countries 20 plus years ago. Their version of success is, do I stay alive? And can I ultimately be in power when this is all said and done? That's it. Right now, breathing is the standard that the Iranian government, the people in the Iranian regime that are still in charge. By the way, it's the same group of people are still in charge. A lot of them are dead, but it's the same group of people still calling the shots. And so their standard literally is stay alive. If we stay alive, the longer we stay alive, the better chance we have of quote unquote winning, because we don't believe, we being the Iranians, we don't believe the U.S. and the world community has the ability to sustain inconvenience for a long period of time. You're already seeing it, right? Pushback from the Congress, pushback from the senators, people saying, hey, I don't think this is worth it. The pain at the pump, the economy, the world economy being disrupted. We saw the same thing in Iraq. You've seen the same thing from the Ukrainians dealing with the Russians. Or what are they trying to do? Just outlast it long enough, not direct combat. I mean, there is some of that, obviously, but just outlast it long enough to where the other side, the government that is seen as in a position of strength, their people say enough. Whatever the disruption is, enough of that. Here's a quote from the Iranian foreign minister, and I thought it was very telling of what I just said. At the moment, we hold the upper hand. And this is very important. Just look at the state of the global economy and energy markets. It has been very painful for them. That's the goal of Iran. Cause enough chaos around the world that the world community finally comes to the United States and says, enough is enough. Strike some sort of deal. Be done with this. We're not going to continue to assist you or be an ally with you in this if our people continue to feel pain. If our people continue to suffer, if we have to pay more for stuff, if we have to pay more for gas, more for oil, we're not going to do that. That is the goal of the Iranians. Just stay alive. And that's, in terms of who wins or who loses, that's a lot easier than having to stabilize an entire world economic market. Okay. I told you it was going to be a long segment. We are through it. We got so much local stuff to get to. When we come back, by the way, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please share this feed. Please share this video. Please let people know where we're at and what we're doing. We're going to get local. Adam Wren from Politico is going to be with us. He covered redistricting at length when it was going on, when the vote was going down in December, and he has stayed with it since about this plan for Trump to challenge all these Republican senators who voted against redistricting. Adam Wren is going to be with us to talk about how are these challengers, how are they doing across the state? They're spread out all across the state. How are they doing? How are they fundraising? Who's helping them? How are they as candidates? Are they resonating with people? What is the plan of the incumbent senators who are backed by Senate Pro Tem Rod Bray to fight back? And he's got a new piece coming out on likely Democrat nominee for Secretary of State, Bo Bai, and his plan to try to finally give the Democrats some level of relevance in the state of Indiana after more than a decade. We'll take a quick break. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget the website, robkendallshow.com. Joined in studio by one of the best writers in the business from Politico, senior national political correspondent. That title probably comes with a pretty big paycheck. The great Adam Wren. Adam, hello.
Good to be with you, Rob.
Okay, so tell us, you're working on something that's really fascinating, and it goes back to a piece that you did back in December on redistricting. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. The primaries are in full swing, and you said there's going to be buku money spent potentially on trying to defeat these Republican senators in Indiana who voted against redistricting.
Yeah, so for months we've been following, as many people have, the drama at the Indiana State House and the battle between MAGA forces and, the more traditional parts of the Republican Party that remain here in Indiana, influenced by people like former Governor Mitch Daniels and former Governor Mike Pence. They're still a fragment of the Republican Party that hasn't fully synced up with MAGA, and we saw that in the redistricting battle that played out at the State House in December. And, all of these forces, whether it's Turning Point USA, whether it's Club for Growth, whether it's any number of state-based PACs or dark money groups, have pledged to really challenge these state senators who voted against redistricting. And we're going to find out in just a matter of weeks, number one, how much money they're willing to spend. I think it'll be in the seven figures potentially.
So well over $1 million.
Yeah. That's what they've
Wow.
pledged to spend here through 2028 to fight these Republican senators and get a more conservative Republican Party, a party they believed is more aligned with MAGA and President Trump.
Okay, let me ask you a couple questions about this, because one of the things I have struggled with from a political perspective, and I got no love for any of these people, right? So it's fine with me if they all go down. But it seems like they kind of just did what their constituents wanted. The polling was overwhelming that Indiana was against redistricting. Do you have any idea what the case is going to be to the public when these senators appear to just have done what their constituents wanted?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, a lot of this advertising and a lot of the predicate for this is going to be to point to what's happening in Virginia, where Democrats are likely to pick up a number of seats and say, look, we're going to be the Indiana interests are going to be outchecked by places like Virginia, places like California, and because you didn't act in December when it mattered, and you're not fully aligned with President Trump on this issue. And when it comes to the midterms, the Republican Party and President Trump's agenda are potentially going to be under threat because you didn't act to do mid-cycle redistricting when it mattered most. And so now you sort of have to pay this political price. What's also happening here, though, is President Trump is essentially putting himself on the ballot in these 6 state Senate districts. And so it'll be an easy way to check his political power and what political power he has in a state that he won handily in both 2016 and 2020 and also in 2024.
Adam Wren, senior national political correspondent for Politico, is our guest. We're talking about this primary battle that's going to take place. My thing is, okay, you got, 6-ish people they've really invested in or claim they're going to invest in. They're all over the state. And nothing against these people, they're not exactly rock stars, right? Like, again, like when Greg Ballard's running as an independent, you go, okay, everybody's going to know him. He's going to be able to raise money. He's a known quantity. Are these people who don't have experience campaigning, they don't have a big name ID, is just having some money thrown at them or Turning Point USA come in, is that going to be enough?
It's hard to say, Rob, but we will find out a clear answer to this in May. But some of these people are well-known bastions in their community. You think of somebody like Greg Walker. He's backed by local business owners in Columbus and has been around for a long time in the state Senate. And that name ID starts to get built in. You look at someone like Roderick Bray, who's not up until 2028. The Bray name has significant, traction in his part of the state. But some of these other senators, you think of someone like Linda Rogers, it's unclear. And so I don't think anybody's under the illusions that MAGA is going to claim or knock down all 6 of these state senators.
Right.
But they want to find somebody to make an example of. You look at Spencer Deary up in West Lafayette, a former aide to former Governor Mitch Daniels. If they could make an example of someone like him who was really out to the gates early in saying that he would be not back mid-cycle redistricting, that would be a clear win for them, and they could kind of claim victory there.
Can you win just on one thing? This is part of my frustration with these people running against these senators. Again, I have no love for any of these people. If they all lose, that's great. But they don't seem to be running on anything other than this. Like, there's so many big issues: property tax, utility bills, corruption, IEDC, all these things. Now the tolling issue with I-70. They're not talking about any of that. It's just all based around Trump and redistricting. And I just wonder, does redistricting move enough people?
Yeah, redistricting, broadly speaking, across Indiana, taking part in mid-cycle redistricting was broadly unpopular, polls show us. The Senate Majority Campaign Committee, the campaign arm of Senate Republicans here in Indiana that's tasked with defending a lot of these seats, defending incumbents, they did their own polling during last summer and into early fall, and they found that among MAGA Republicans who voted for Trump, believe in the president's agenda, it was broadly popular that they
Which that's all you need in a primary, I guess.
Right, that they wanted to see mid-cycle redistricting. So there was a lot of sort of signals in the noise, and we're about to separate the two the closer we get to May.
One more thing on this. It seems odd to me because this was all supposedly about the 1st congressional district, right? They so wanted to win that seat. We're wasting all of this money on getting rid of these senators, which is great, right? If they all go down, fine, wonderful. But if the goal was to get the 1st district, which is somewhat a swing district, why wouldn't you just put all the money into the district and recruit a really good candidate? And if Trump and the Republicans are that popular, you'll win the district.
Yeah, I think the White House and the governor's office here in Indiana would say, let's be serious. The 1st district, as it's currently drawn, is not winnable. Jennifer Ruth Green got close in 2022. Obviously, she's not running this year.
Yeah, she had a bit of a rough patch there.
And I think that they would sidestep that and say it's really not winnable. And that was Roderick Bray's case all along, was let's find a good candidate, let's try to win in the 1st district. But really, by saying that they can't win it, that's kind of a tell that the only way that they could have won it is by redrawing it and checking. The argument would be checking, what was happening in California with Gavin Newsom's ploy, and then checking what's happening in Virginia, and that just didn't work out. And so I think it's really not winnable.
You cover politics all over the country, right? You're obviously based here in Indiana, so you do a lot of Indiana stuff, but you cover politics all over the country. And I never know your opinion on anything. Do you ever just look at these people and want to go, what the hell is wrong with all of you people?
My job is to help readers understand how political figures think and how they see, their own case, the case that they're making to the public, how they understand their own life, and how their own life got them to where they are today. And if I can do that and make them seem a little bit more human or render their humanity as much as possible on the page, then I feel like I got my job accomplished. And beyond that, I'll let readers sort of form their own opinions about these, but certainly it's an exasperating time to cover what's unfolding in the country, and that's not to weigh in on the politics of all of it, but just in Texas, where I spent a lot of time over the last few weeks and have covered State Representative James Tallarico's rise since 2023.
Do you think he was going to win that primary?
I did, yeah, I did. I thought it would turn out about exactly like it did, going into what we were seeing, because, to get to the exasperating point, his opponent, Jasmine Crockett, had a reporter, Elaine Godfrey at the Atlantic, tossed from one of her rallies, and for the press, there are difficult headwinds right now, and I think with Tallarico, one of the things that he did was he managed to build relationships with people like reporters at the New Yorker, which profiled him. He kind of cultivated not only his social media following on TikTok and Instagram and X, but he also cultivated traditional media, which I think helped get his message out there before the primary. And Jasmine Crockett was not doing that.
That's the blueprint for the Democrats here, right? Which is going to lead me to my next topic here in just a minute, which is the Bo Bai piece you're working on. But you got to have normal people that talk about normal stuff. Like Tallarico may be a big liberal, probably is, I don't know. But he comes off like very unoffensive. He comes off very like not standoffish. And he really avoided any pitfalls of saying anything crazy. And if you're the Democrats, that's what you got to be doing.
Yeah, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you have to be able to crack the new media mix, the new media ecosystem that we're seeing right now that is largely fractured. And President Donald Trump did that expertly in the way that he reached out to the Manosphere podcast in 2024, the way that even now he's taking direct calls from reporters about the war in Iran and getting out the message that he wants out when he wants it. Now, granted, some of those calls and some of the information are occasionally conflicting by the hour. Even
you're so nice the way you say things. Like you're just always so in the middle.
Even some of my colleagues have been able to reach him, and that accessibility allows him to get his message out. But he's, he was on podcasts. He was talking to the traditional media, and the candidates on both sides of the aisle right now, who are doing well, who are getting their story out there, their message, are figuring out how to operate in this fractured media ecosystem better than their opponents.
Adam Wren, Politico, senior national political correspondent, is our guest. A couple minutes left with him. So you're working on a piece on Bo Bai. He's the presumed or likely Democrat nominee for Secretary of State, although he has some pretty, at least from the people that'll vote at convention, what is seen as legitimate competition in Blythe Potter. Can he do it? I mean, like, he's got the name, he's got the look, he's got the heritage, but he's never run for political office before. What are you finding in your interactions with him and with his orbit?
Yeah, what I think is fascinating, and this is happening across the map, is that Democrats who are doing well, whether it's in a place like Texas or here in Indiana, they are running against their own party's brand.
Yeah.
They are not running, with a big capital D in front of their name or after their name. They're running for all intents and purposes as independents.
Yeah.
They're running against the Republican Party, the Democratic Party. We saw from NBC polling reporting earlier this week that one of the only entities pulled by NBC that has a worse rating than the Democratic Party as a brand is Iran. I think it's like a single digit space difference there. And so
let me ask you real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but these guys. When they see that, do they go, it never seems like anybody ever goes, hey, we got to make some changes around here. Do these guys ever see that and go, well, we're almost as bad as Iran. Maybe it's time to, mix things up a little bit.
Well, I think that's going to be a huge challenge of this year and next year, and it was last year as well. I mean, Democrats have a real problem with their party brand, and they need to figure that out. And so they're doing all sorts of interesting things to try to improve their authenticity. Someone like Bo Bai doesn't really mention the Democratic Party a lot, even though he is a scion of the Democratic Party here in Indiana and nationally. His grandfather was an influential senator. His father was governor, senator. But they have to run against the brand, and so you're seeing people in the Democratic Party try to look like outsiders by cursing more. They're growing beards.
Does that work?
We'll find out. We'll find out this November.
What's the state where the guy he's running in a primary? Is it New Hampshire? Where the guy had tattoos that they were saying are Nazi based.
Yeah, it's Graham Plattner in Maine,
and he's winning.
And he's doing well.
Yeah.
We're seeing him raise significant funds, and he's beating the sitting governor there, Janet Mills, in a number of the polls. But yeah, Democrats have to solve this problem. Now, if you look back to 2004 and the brutal loss that John Kerry had then, and you look at 2005, and in 2006 in the midterms, the biggest way to solve your problem, and the thing that solves a lot of problems and covers a multitude of sins, is just winning races. And so if Democrats can win back the House, maybe the Senate in November, they could just paper over a lot of the deeper fundamental problems that they have with the electorate by just winning. And that could wash away a lot of their problems.
Does Ballard help or hurt Bo Bai?
I think that there's been a lot of hand-wringing over this. First of all, I think that Ballard has significant obstacles to even get on the ballot. And I think, a lot of the coverage so far has been, sort of, glancing at that problem. He has a significant obstacle.
37,000 signatures is a lot.
Yeah. And, those signatures are going to be gone over by both Republicans and Democrats with what I would call proctological care and precision.
I'm going to steal that phrase.
And
proctological care.
And, so I think, whether or not he can do that, we'll have to all watch and find out. Maybe he very well can. But, his name ID outside of Indianapolis and the donut counties, I think, is lower than what you might expect. The only polling that we have informing his viability is 4 months old.
Yeah.
And, I think primarily, though, I do not see the Bai campaign sweating Ballard's entrance into this race. I think, fundamentally, they think if it comes to fruition, it'll be good for them and a referendum on Diego Morales. Clearly, the Republican Party is not happy about it.
Were you surprised at the freak out? These people lost their minds.
I'm not surprised at the freak out because it plainly says, what they see as them having a problem with Diego Morales. He is an embattled incumbent. They're staring at, for the first time, a perfect storm where they could be swept for the first time in several decades from holding every statewide office in Indiana. And this is the same thing that Evan Bai did when he won his Secretary of State's race. He gave Democrats a foothold in government and used that to climb to a gubernatorial spot.
He is one of the best reporters in the business, senior national political reporter. Did I get it right?
You got it right, yeah.
Correspondent. I want to make sure we get it right.
You got it right.
You're moving up in the world. Adam Wren, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me. The easiest place to find all my work is on X, at Adam Wren, Wren like the bird.
That's right, with a W. Adam Wren, thank you.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Rob.
Yeah, you've been watching Rob Kendall Show.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Don't forget, robkendallshow.com. We got the live feed there, the podcasts, transcripts of our favorite segments each day. We've got the support button there, all available. robkendallshow.com. And again, many of you have reached out on how can I help the show? That's how. The support button. robkendallshow.com. 2 shekels, $10 billion, whatever your level of support is. We certainly appreciate that, and we always want to try to highlight the people who have supported our program, our endeavor, trying to hold governments accountable, good government, promote that, robkendallshow.com. Again, please subscribe to the YouTube feed. You guys have done that this morning. Some new subscribers coming in. My goal, a lofty one, to get it to 2,000 by the end of the week. We'll see if we can pull that off. Coming up, 11:20. Greg Ballard, former mayor of Indianapolis, will be with us. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about why he's running for Secretary of State. We're going to talk about how he's going to get those 37,000 signatures. We're going to talk about the lay of the land, right? Who he might be running against, how that's going to shape up. We'll talk about his time as mayor of Indy, some of his greatest successes, some of his greatest what things he'd like do-overs on. So that's coming up. A lot of people have anticipated that. 11:20 today. Right here, just a little bit here on the Rob Kendall Show. Okay, so want to talk about this. The Capitol Chronicle had a fascinating article about college kids trying to vote in Indiana and the pushback to that, changes in the law that some are saying making it more difficult for college kids to vote. And usually, I got a pretty ironclad opinion on something. Like, you give it to me and I go, okay, here's where I'm at with this. This is one where I can see both sides of this. And really it comes down to, one, what is the actual role of voter ID? 2, how accessible do you want to make voting? And 3, is this just another example of our government trying to solve a non-existent problem to look like they're doing something? And I think those are the questions you kind of have to ask yourself as we work through this topic. One, what is the actual role of voter ID? What is the goal of voter ID? 2, how accessible do you want to make voting? And 3, is this just another example of government solving a non-existent problem to look like they're doing something? So here's the story. There is now a case that is in federal court to block Indiana's new law. I believe this went into effect last year, which essentially bans college students from using their college ID as a form of voter identification. So until last year, you could use one of the accepted forms of identification was a college ID in order to be able to vote. So most of you know, for those of you who don't, you have to have a valid identification in order to vote in the state of Indiana. There are very specific forms of ID that are allowed. And then there are those that, even though they may have your photo on them, they simply say, not good enough, you can't use that, and you got to have one of the approved forms of ID. Those that are approved include driver's license from the BMV, a U.S. passport, a passport card, and various other government-issued IDs. College IDs used to be allowed. And I believe it was last year, the government stepped in and said, nope, not anymore. And many people asked the question, they said, well, why? There was not some long track record of organized voter fraud by college students using college identification. And if there wasn't some long track record, or really any instance that I'm aware of, maybe somebody could point to one over time, where there was an organized, malicious effort by voter fraud on any sort of grand scale by someone using a college ID separate from a driver's license. If it was working okay, then why did you ban it? Look, to me, the goal of voter ID, and I'm a huge proponent of voter ID, big supporter, have been since it was put into law. And by the way, Todd Rokita, now the Attorney General, he was the architect of voter ID when he was Secretary of State and deserves credit for that. But the goal of voter ID should be to ensure via picture to some reasonable level of assurance that the person voting is the person on the ID. That should be the goal of voter ID. And Connie Lawson, the former Secretary of State, said this when Trump was president. It was the Russia hoax, and it's been true since voter ID was put into the place in the state of Indiana. It's very hard to do any sort of large-scale or influential voter fraud if you have to show an identification, show the name matches who you are. Now, I guess, theoretically, some college student could create a whole bunch of fake IDs with different names on them that match up with different people and go vote. I guess they could do that. But, man, that's a hell of a lot of effort to not really accomplish much. And there's no track record of that happening. And so the first question is, what is the role of voter ID? The role of voter ID, the goal of voter ID should be to ensure that the picture matches who the person is. And by the way, if it's a college ID, it comes from the college. There are certain identification markers on a college ID. Are they extensive as a driver's license? No, probably not. But again, that's a hell of a lot of effort for essentially no reward that's never been proven in any way, shape, or form to be taking place. So if we can accept that the role of voter ID, the goal of voter ID should be to identify the person who is voting and that the picture matches that person. And by the way, in order to pull this off, especially in the modern era, these people would have to go to multiple different polling sites, like drive to different places, especially in a world where it's almost like all vote centers now, especially in your major metropolitan cities. Are you really going to be that dedicated for one or two votes? Let's say you were committing voter fraud with the college ID. To drive to, I'll just use the county where I live, Brownsburg, and do it. And then you got to drive to Avon, another town over, 10, 15 minutes. And then another 10 or 15 minutes. You can't do it in the same place. They'll know who you are. It's the same people checking you in. Like, that just seems like a hell of a lot of effort that nobody's ever proven it's ever been done to try to rig an election. Like, if you were going to try to rig an election, steal an election, commit voter fraud, there's many, many ways that are far more efficient than that, especially with no proof it's ever happened. Then it comes back to, what is the goal? How accessible should voting be? Do you want to actually make voting accessible? I do. I don't want to have the state, as we talked about yesterday, facilitating it. I don't want, as we're seeing our governor and Secretary of State, because they know they're in big danger, they know they're way underwater in their approval ratings, outsourcing voting, begging people to vote to third parties like Turning Point USA. Look, that's a political thing. We talked about that at length yesterday. I won't go into it today. But I do want people who have a desire to vote to be able to vote. I want voting with safeguards to be a relatively easy, pleasant experience. And I think what you've seen and why there is pushback is that the Republicans have targeted the college ID for college students because college students tend to vote Democrat. We're all adults here. We're all honest brokers with each other. That's what this is really about. If all those college students were voting Republican, do you think they'd mess with it? No. But in places like Bloomington, it's overwhelmingly Democrat, and young people tend to vote Democrat most of the time anyway. If we really wanted voting to be accessible, and we accept that, hey, there's not any sort of ever in the history of voter ID in Indiana, any sort of real proven fraud of any sort of tangible level, or much fraud period anyway, even on an individual level, but certainly not altering elections, that college students have been doing with their college IDs, and we want voting to be accessible, then why would you be making this change? And the reality is, Republicans really probably don't want voting to be as accessible as it possibly can be for people who they don't think are going to vote for them. That's what they're doing here. And so this is, to come back to the third question, the third statement, another example of, in this case, Diego Morales, the Secretary of State, trying to make you think that he's doing something, he's solving a problem that doesn't exist. Trying to make you think, oh, look at me, I'm safeguarding elections. Well, the elections already were pretty much safeguarded. Look, I've followed Indiana politics and government for, very closely for 16, 17 years now. I cannot recall at any time on a local level, on a state level, federal level, any of our elections where somebody had some sort of viable complaint centered around the results would have been proven, that the results would have been altered because of voter fraud. Indiana does it really well. Now, look, I'm not a person who believes you should have a month to early vote. I think you are plenty accessible if you give somebody 2 weeks to early vote and election day. I think you're going out of your way to be accessible if you say you have 2 weeks to do something plus the actual day itself. But I also think you can be accessible by saying, if the goal is to prevent voter fraud, if the goal is to prevent or ensure that the person casting the vote gives a strong resemblance to the person in the picture, then college IDs kind of accomplish that. This whole thing seems very petty that the state has prevented that from happening. Now, the other side of this is, well, look, there's lots of laws that I don't like. There's lots of things that happen that I don't agree with. And if you're a college kid and you really want to vote bad enough, as we laid out, there's a whole bunch of different ways you could actually get a valid ID. If you're a college kid, you should probably have a driver's license, shouldn't you? Even if you don't actively drive a car. I mean, it's pretty easy to get one. It's not exactly rocket science. There's a lot of people I know who are horrible drivers who have driver's licenses. So then there's the other side of me that goes, okay, well, while this law does seem rather punitive, it does seem rather targeted, it does seem rather geared towards preventing or making it more difficult for specific people to vote. If you're a college kid and you really want to vote, if it's that important to you, you should be able to get the valid ID. My point of all of this is this has now ended up in federal court. The plaintiffs are Count Us In, Women for Change Indiana, and a Indiana University student by the name of Josh Montaigne. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Montagne. And the lawsuit is asking for a halt of enforcement from the 2025 law that bans the acceptance of college IDs as a valid form of identification. Now, this case is set to go to court in 2027, but what they're actually asking for right now is what I guess they would call this a temporary injunction, saying, hey, for this upcoming election cycle, for the 2026 primary at the very least, we're asking the court to say that college IDs can be allowed. A rule is expected any time now. Here's what the state of Indiana said, because obviously, look, the primary is coming up. A status conference scheduled for June 9th, so you would need a ruling before that. So obviously they're asking for this to affect the 2026 primary election. Here's what the state said: obtaining a valid ID is not a severe burden on the right to vote. The state argued, according to the Capitol Chronicle, in the filing, noting that Indiana voters can use multiple forms of identification that satisfy the law's requirements, including the driver's license, state-issued ID card from the BMV, a passport card, or certain other government-issued IDs. They're right. The state's absolutely right. This is one of these where I just see both sides of the issue. Now, obviously, a judge is going to have to look at the legalese of this and determine what legalese have been met or have not been met and rule accordingly. But I see both sides. The law seems both very punitive, targeted, and designed to keep specific people from voting or make it harder for them to vote based on how they probably voted or are likely to vote. But at the same time, if you really want to do it, it's probably not that hard to get an actual ID. All right, real quick, before we take a break, to get to Mayor Ballard, speaking of the Capitol Chronicle, they had an article tracking what has happened to teachers who made what were deemed inappropriate or insensitive comments about the death of Charlie Kirk, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Before we get to that, let me tell you about our friends at Bramwell Mackay. Masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home, and ready for a total makeover. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry staining and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, want something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, beauty built to endure. BARMWELLMCKAY.com. All right, real quick. So do you guys remember last year with the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, there were numerous teachers who were caught making what at the very least would seem totally inappropriate for someone who is in charge of school children, who is seen as a leader of children. And I'm saying regardless of what side of the political aisle a person would have been on to be assassinated, the comments were deemed by most people in decent society really inappropriate, really gross, and totally unbecoming of somebody who is in that position of authority, a position of influence, a position of mentorship. And Attorney General Todd Rokita has started this, and it's still up. It's called Eyes on Education. It's a portal. If you guys didn't know about this, it's called Eyes on Education. It's a portal. It's a state-run website where members of the public can submit complaints or screenshots alleging political bias, inappropriate classroom conduct, or other concerns involving teachers in schools. And in the wake of the Charlie Kirk assassination, numerous teachers were posted or screenshots of comments from teachers on social media that the public deemed inappropriate, members of communities deemed inappropriate, were screenshotted to this Eyes on Education platform. Now, a lot of these teachers, whether they were rationalizing Charlie Kirk's death or they were celebrating it or whatever, a lot of these teachers faced consequences from their own school districts. Many of them were fired. Some of them were suspended, then rehired. And that's a good thing. It's a thing that an individual school district should be policing because the values of the teacher should reflect the values of the school district. And if you were a person who was out celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, if you're a person who was in remotely trying to say it was okay or in any way justify it or in any way reason with it or whatever, you should have been fired. You should have been dismissed from your job, and the school district was right to do that. Now, the school district can say you're not employed here. The school district, however, can't take your teacher's license, which means you couldn't teach anywhere. That would be the job of the state of Indiana. The Indiana Office of Administrative Law Proceedings confirmed to the Indiana Capitol Chronicle that no cases involving teacher licenses had been filed with the office since Charlie Kirk's assassination. So while these teachers were getting fired or suspended, their actual teaching license, which would allow them to go somewhere else after being fired, and you would hope that any school district that that was considering hiring these people would do the most, basic of checks, social media, etc., read the news, go to this website, and would see, hey, these people are on here, and probably not hire them. But however, in terms of their actual law license, which would allow them to continue teaching. And by the way, state statute, according to the Capitol Chronicle, permits action of revoking a license, quote, upon the written recommendation of the state superintendent of public instruction. If an educator is found guilty of immorality, misconduct in office, incompetency, or willful neglect of duty. So the big question, and then we'll get to break, and then we'll get to Mayor Greg Ballard, and it's going to be a fascinating interview. I know everybody is excited about hearing and seeing that. The bigger question is, what should the standard be to have a teacher's license in Indiana? That's the question we should be asking ourselves, because a lot of these teachers are just going to another school district. They're going to have the same opinions, the same belief system. They're not sorry they said it. Look, if you're celebrating someone's death, if you're rationalizing it, you're not sorry you said it. Look, I'll tell you right now, with what happened in Iran, while it's causing immense chaos and we can debate the policy, I don't think anybody's saying, hey, that Ayatollah, he was a great guy, and we're super sad of all the people he's harmed, the people he's killed, the terrorism that country's done. If you asked me, am I sad about it? No, and I'm not going to hide that from you. It's a well thought through position. Now, again, as I've said, I think sometimes the people you get in there after are worse, and you need to think that through before you take those actions. We've seen that many times in our country. We may be seeing it now. But in the case of these teachers celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, that's a deeply held position. That speaks to who you are as a human. That's not some oopsie, my emotions got the better of me. And there's a good chance those people are going to keep those same sorts of opinions, those same sorts of beliefs, and those people are probably not shy about sharing those with their kids, the people they're teaching. If you're going to put that on social media, you're probably saying it to your kids as well. Should those people have a teacher's license? What should the standard be to get your teacher license revoked? I'd love to hear from you guys in the YouTube chat. Producer Jason's going to read some of those thoughts later. That's a great thing I'd love to get to you guys on later on in the program. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Greg Ballard, former mayor of Indianapolis, will join us to talk about his run for Secretary of State. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Find the website, robkendallshow.com. Joined in studio by the man shaking up Indiana politics and government, former mayor of the city of Indianapolis, Greg Ballard. Mr. Mayor, hello.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it.
All right, so the big question, you obviously are in the fray. You're trying to run as an independent for Secretary of State. The big question is, why would you do this to yourself? Did you lose a bet? Did you draw the short straw? Why are you running for Secretary of State? Let's start with why are you running for that office first?
Okay. Well, a little precursor to that is I've been asked to run for offices over the last few years, ever since I got out.
Nobody ever asked me to do anything.
So ever since I was done being the mayor, people have asked me to, Senate or House or governor or whatever it might be. A lot of that going on. And I looked at it, one of them really, really closely, but none felt right.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like it was the right place to be at the right time. This one did. When I was approached about it and feeling that the tenor was, of politics was getting a little too hot for me. I want to turn down the rhetoric a little bit. I want to do that sort of thing. I have that reputation, as you well know. And then when I was thinking about that, I wasn't necessarily thinking, how am I going to do this? I was trying to do it personally. When I would speak and things like that, speak to students. But then those numbers came out.
Yeah. So you're talking about the poll that
Yeah.
Independent Indiana did in the fall that showed you very competitive in a three-way race with Diego Morales and Bo Bai.
And they did that. I didn't even know I was being polled for that. Now,
What's that like?
I do know people pull me
Yeah.
routinely just to get some sort of gauge somewhere, but I did not know I was in that poll either, just like the other ones.
What's it like to, because you mentioned that, and I know people have used you over the years as an independent candidate. You're sort of seen as the gold standard because you appealed to Democrats as a Republican in a blue city. What's that like to kind of be perceived as like, okay, if we're picking a generic independent, like who we want to use, let's use Greg Ballard.
It's hard for me to fathom, to be frank with you. I knew who I was, if you will, but I didn't really know how strong the perception was of me outside. I guess I didn't have a good sense of myself according to other people. So I really didn't. In the last year, that's probably come a little bit closer to home. And then when I saw those poll numbers, I thought, well, I'm trying to do this and looking at that. So I at least had to give it a look.
Yeah.
And see if this would work. It took me a while to get there. It really did.
Okay, so my wife and I have a rule. She's very tolerant of me. Can you imagine being married to me? Our rule is do whatever you want. Just don't embarrass me. Don't end up in a prison cell. Don't end up in the papers other than for your job.
Right.
How does that conversation go? And who do you have to have it with to get to yes?
Well, the wife is always first.
Right.
I think everybody knows that. So
and they go, hey, I'd like to run for Secretary of State. Is that cool?
So my wife and I, we've been married 43 years now, and she met me when I was in the Marine Corps, so she knew that routine. And when I came out, she just, whatever I thought was the right thing to do, she kind of said, we talked about it a little bit, but she got it, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do. And it tended to work out for us. A little bit lumpy right out of the Marine Corps, but it turned out okay. And then a few years later, I'm running for mayor of Indianapolis, which looks like the longest of long shots.
Yeah, you had no shot.
No shot.
When you started.
So if people even knew how little resources I had when I started that, they'd be shocked.
Okay, I didn't win an office as big as the mayor of Indianapolis, but I won a local race. And I remember the night I won, I was like, oh, crap, I won. I can't believe it. Like, do you guys need to check those results again? Was that you on election night in 07?
No,
I won?
No, actually it wasn't, because by then I was convinced I was going to win. Even though I had no money for polling, we didn't poll. I mean, the other side did. They spent millions, right? At most, I had $200,000 cash, and that was probably in the last 2 weeks of the campaign, because with a month to go, I still had not cleared 50,000, and they were spending $4 million. I mean, that's how bad. Council candidates had more money in their accounts than I did.
Yeah,
and that's how far behind I was on this, but. Because of that, I had to take an alternate strategy. So I went to every neighborhood group, went to every business group, and talked and knocked on doors, did all those things. You did what you had to do to get a name ID that you could. And Bart Peterson's a great guy, no question about that. But that campaign made a couple of mistakes along the way, and there I was.
So did that influence the process you went through to get to yes on running for mayor? Did that influence you at all in running for Secretary of State?
I am so far ahead of where I was when I was from running for mayor, because there's infrastructure behind this. There's some money behind this. There's a team behind this. There's a purpose behind this. All of that was in place before I even came along.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you running as an independent. And then I want to talk about the Republican response to you running as an independent. You were a Republican mayor. You were until the other day at 7 a.m. very well liked in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted you to run as a Republican against Diego Morales at convention. The people just don't feel David Shelton strong enough. Why did you decide to do it as an independent?
That's a great question, but I've known for years, and I've been told this. I kind of knew this anyway. I cannot win a primary or a convention in the Republican Party. I'm too rational, too practical, kind of middle of the road guy. What's the right thing to do? Let's have good, low key, effective government. Neither party plays that way right now.
Why do you think that is? Like, what is it? Because it's the social media era and people are trying to get clips or hits. Like, why is that guys like you don't think can win anymore?
Well, that's not where the party regulars are. The conventions, for instance, are the insider of the insider, right? Primary is tough enough, but when you go to the convention, it's even tougher,
right?
Because I don't feel quite the same way as either on the Republican insiders or the Democratic insiders. I just don't fit any of that at all. And then when you find out, I think Nathan gave you these numbers also, 41% of Hoosiers identify as independents.
That's right.
Holy cow.
Yeah, they're forced to vote for one of these two sides.
Right.
They don't really want to. Greg Ballard, former mayor of Indianapolis, is our guest, running as an independent candidate for Secretary of State. Okay, so were you surprised? This was the thing that blew me away. For years, I was told you were the gold standard. Red mayor, blue city, he's the guy we all need to be like. If you got any objections to Ballard, you need to just shut up and sit down. And then within 30 minutes, you became public enemy number one from some of the same people who previously said great things about you. What were you surprised by that response?
No, not at all, because that's who the parties are now. And they're obviously going to do something to me. And I was torn between laughing and just being sad.
It's every day for me. It's every day.
And eventually, when they put out what they put out, we tweeted. It's so sad that the Indiana Republican Party has come to this, that they're just making it up. The residents, they're just making it.
Well, yeah, because they tried to say, and like these were like a state rep was accusing you of this, like a sitting office holder of potentially voting illegally. They basically declared you that Robert Stack's ghost needed to come back and unsolved mysteries needed to look into you. Like, and it was stuff that you quickly debunked. It's like, okay, of all the stuff to go at with the guy, when you have a big swing and a miss on your opening salvo, then it kind of dilutes the other criticism of you.
I think it will. But what people really haven't talked about, they have all the levers of power.
Yeah.
They knew when I moved, and they knew when I came back.
Sure.
They knew that my voter registration card said August 14th, 2023. They knew it in the Secretary of State's office.
Of course.
And that they just made it up. They absolutely made it up.
Does that reinforce you made the right choice when you see how these people respond? Because it's not like you came out and said, I'm running for Secretary of State and the Republicans are the worst people ever. Like there was not any, you're critical of both parties, but it's not like you were naming names or anything like that. And does it reinforce I made the right choice because this is who these people actually are?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, it did. And the gotcha mentality really has to stop. And I'm so sad that we've come to that, but we're at the gotcha. They're trying to heat up the rhetoric all the time. This, and this, and then they just kind of make things up, knowing full well. Like for instance, that tweet that went out originally talking about this. They know that maybe quarter to a third of the people are going to believe it no matter what.
Yeah.
Even though it's completely debunked, they know they're going to believe it, and then it'll be passed on and on. They know that.
So let's talk about the signatures, because one of the things we keep hearing is, man, you got to get 37,000-ish signatures. You're going to want to get more than that. It's very expensive. How are you guys going to put that coalition together to get the signatures, and how are you going to raise the money to be able to do that?
Yeah, the money's being raised, obviously, and been pretty good so far on that front also.
How does that work? I've never been able to raise money. Do you just call somebody and go, hello, this is Greg Ballard. Can I have $7, please?
Independent Indiana has seen this coming.
Yeah.
Waiting for a candidate, obviously,
right.
But they saw this coming and they started raising it actually a while back.
Yeah.
And so I think we'll be able to get there, and I think we'll be able to get these signatures pretty handily. I do. We're kind of starting right now, but by next week, I think we'll be fully into it.
So you're not concerned at all about that number and having to get 37,000 signatures?
I'm not right now. I think things are well in hand right now. I hope it won't be June.
Yeah.
But if it goes to June, it goes to June. But lots of people, my emails and texts and everything have been blowing up. Lots of people want to help, but also there's firms that do these sorts of things also.
I signed your form. I think it's phenomenal that you're running. That is not an endorsement of anyone either way. I just think I always have to say that these days because people hear that and go, he endorsed Ballard. I think it's great because clearly we need to hold the Republicans accountable in this state that are running everything, and people are very dissatisfied. And the Democrats have by and large been so bad that people won't vote for Democrats. I think it's great to have a viable independent. What do you think your candidacy could mean to the future of politics in the state?
One thing I hope it does is I want it to make the Secretary of State a nonpartisan office once you're in there.
It should be.
That's what I want it to be, and it's obviously not. Another thing, the 37,000 signatures, doesn't that seem like a punitive obstacle to people running?
Yeah, totally, right?
So there's kind of like voters are being shut out a little bit here and there. People who want to run for office are being dramatically shut out. Less than a quarter of the people in Indiana who want to run for office can.
Yeah.
Because of laws and policies. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
And the average person doesn't know that. So I want the voter to know more about what to do in the voter's booth, give them that information, obviously with the voter's guide that I've talked about. I want people to be able to run for office without these punitive obstacles put in the way by both parties. This has been out there for 46 years now.
Right.
It was changed in 1980, I believe, from 0.5% to 2%. So why do you have this in there? Because both parties are trying to protect the duopoly.
How do you get Greg Ballard, former mayor of Indianapolis, independent candidate for Secretary of State, is our guest? How do you get? I have no doubt you're going to do very well in Marion County, donut counties. I think in some counties you'll beat Diego Morales. Right, you would right now. How do you take that though and do it in Fort Wayne or Evansville or Gary? Not that there's a ton of Republicans up there, but Jeffersonville, where people don't know you or your track record. How do you expand your reputation across the state?
Well, the numbers were actually better than I thought. Again, when they showed me the poll, I actually was polling over 20% in the rural areas, which I found fascinating also. But this morning I was on WoWo, and I'm going up to Fort Wayne pretty much all day on Monday to talk to in different scenarios, including with one of the radio broadcasters up there, Barb Richards. So there's a lot that's going on right now. We have people throughout the state, and we're gathering more people in specific areas, and we'll just be traveling. We'll do what we do. What I did in Indianapolis, now I'm going to do in Indiana. And the response has been really good so far, and people have asked us to do different things. So we will get to the other cities, and we'll get to the rural areas and the suburbs. We'll get to all of it.
When you sell yourself, people are going to ask you about being mayor of Indianapolis. I want you to take one of each. The thing you're most proud of as mayor that happened, and the thing you say, I really wish I had a do-over on that one.
Easily the thing I'm most proud of is that I felt like we created a new generation of leadership. If you look where our administration is right now and what they're doing, it's amazing what has been happening with Sports Corp and Hoosier Lottery, Civil Rights Director, and all in the leadership position. And it's amazing what has happened, and I could go on and on about that. And lots of these folks are in their 30s, maybe early 40s, and now they're running things throughout the city and throughout the state. I'm really proud of that. I mean, I could go to the physical stuff like the sewers, and we saved all that hundreds of millions of dollars on the sewers and all that. But I'm really proudest of the new leadership that has emerged as a result of our administration. I was very happy about that. If I had a do-over, that's a really good question. I would have liked to have done the Criminal Justice Center the way we wanted to do it with a public-private partnership. Maybe I was getting tired at the end. I don't know, but a couple things here and there. But I felt like we were put in there to do all those things that were kicked down the road.
Yeah.
By either politically or financially, and I felt like we were supposed to be doing those things, and I felt like we did that. We caught up the city in a lot of ways. But the good thing is, because of how we started the Criminal Justice Center, it got done.
Yeah.
It got done, whereas nobody's even talking about it before. So it got done. Got done a little bit different than I wanted to get done, but it did get done.
People are going to see you. Some people are going to see you for the first time with this interview. And I'm sure before you make the case, vote for me, you got to make the case of sign the petition for me. You got to make this case of be open to voting for me. Why should people consider signing the petition? Why should they be open, in many cases, for the first time, voting for someone not a Republican or a Democrat?
Yeah, well, the first thing, sign the petition, because we need more options in voting, for one. Because
yeah, I'd sign that petition if I hated you, which I don't, but I would, just because I think we need more options.
You need more options, and both parties. So many people are disaffected from both parties.
Yeah.
Oh my heavens, those numbers are overwhelming. So if you want something else, sign the petition. Even if you don't wind up voting for me, sign the petition to get us on the ballot so we can help change the dynamic in the state.
Yeah,
that's the first thing. Do that completely. Second thing, look at what we're going to be saying, what we have already said and will be saying in the future about what I want to do in office. The voter's guide, which is that's funny. People put out numbers. Oh my God, that's so expensive. Yeah, it's a penny for every $100 that the state spends. I think we can look at that so that people have better information going into the voting booth. And I hope that the people who may not vote because they don't have information now will go vote also. So that, and plus I'm not going to endorse, I'm not going to fundraise for, I'm not going to donate to any candidate in that office. I'm not going to be partisan at all.
So, and I think that's important. You have said that any candidate that has to come in front of you to run for office. So what that would be, is that state house, state senate, all of them.
All.
You're not endorsing anybody.
County commissioners,
nobody,
councilors,
because they would all technically go through you.
They all technically go through the Secretary of State's office. I won't endorse a one of them, and I won't fundraise for a one of them.
Well, as long as you can endorse us as your favorite podcast, we'll do it. Hey, if people want to learn more about you, about your campaign for Secretary of State, how can they do that?
GregBallard.com.
Oh, that's very
and
easy.
that's where it's all in there. If you want to help get signatures, how to do it's on there. If you want to donate, it's all on there. If you want to just learn about us, the video is right there up front. So you can.
Mr. Mayor, always a privilege. Thank you and good luck.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, you're watching the Rob Kendall Show.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Couple of announcements before we get to your YouTube comments. We'll bring producer Jason in for that. State House Happenings coming to the video platform. We're taping the first video version of State House Happenings In fact, when we get done here today. So hopefully later today, we'll have that up for you. You'll be able to watch State House happenings once a week, just like we always did before. And we said, look, it's coming to the home here. We finally feel ready to do that. So later today, State House happenings will be made available. Don't forget the program, always available on demand on YouTube when we're done. All the places you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. You can get the on-demand version of Rob Kendall Show. And we appreciate you viewing that, or listening to that. However you're consuming us, we thank you for that. All right. One of my favorite parts of the day, producer Jason, hello.
How we doing, Rob?
I'm doing great.
All right. Got to check my microphone there. There we go.
Your job is to read the best YouTube comments throughout the course of the day. Of course, you have to be a subscriber in order to comment. Subscribe now if you haven't. Rob Kendall Show on YouTube.
There we go. We'll start off with the comments. Start of the show, Jack the Libertarian.
Oh, yes.
Says, just a suggestion, instead of bumper music at the beginning, that the 10-minute countdown
That's
that we
right.
have there for folks to get on and get ready for the show. It should be sound bites of Rob calling people stupid. Not a bad suggestion, Jack. MLM Warriors, I like the bumper music. I sing my own lyrics to it.
That's good.
This is the Rob Kendall Show. There we go. That's MLM Warriors.
One of our great fans.
Like to hear some of those lyrics.
Yeah, maybe
we
not.
Can make you a star. All right, let's see, and then there's a lot of love on the chat, and that's and there's some hate in there, but there's a lot of love, so we're kind of getting the love out of the way here first. Matthew Jacobson, subscribe, like, share, and hit the bell for notifications.
That's right. We don't talk a lot about the bell. There's a bell that'll notify you as soon as we go live each day. You get the bell. There's just too many things to talk about, so we don't promote the bell enough.
That's right, the bell. Hit that bell. It'll let you know. It'll alert you when the show is ready. Kevin Branham says, I tell everybody about you, Rob.
Thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate that. Our goal, it's a lofty goal, but I've seen the subscribers go up in the couple hours we've been on today. 2,000 subscribers by the end of the week. That's you guys. That's your responsibility. That's your homework for the rest of the week.
And the audio podcasts are just exploding.
Yeah.
Because there's about 50 different services out there. Apple and Spotify are the two. Well, I guess I don't know if they're the two main ones or not. The only ones I know about.
Yeah.
But, so that does split up the audience quite a bit, but that's great. A lot of people able to listen in the car. Kevin Branham, I tell you about everybody. Vic Ferrari says, in quotations, we're in this together. That's a Nine Inch Nails song.
Oh, is it?
Yes, it is.
You ever been to a Nine Inch Nails concert?
I have. I drove all the way to Michigan to see Nine Inch Nails and Jane's Addiction.
Of course.
Of course I did.
Can you tell us anything else about that trip?
That was a long trip. Shrog Samich, who I think yesterday said we would never read his comments because of his content, but not the case, Mr. Samich. He says, I talk about you a lot and people are interested, but they just don't. I think people are so brainwashed and overloaded with the daily poison that they literally can't do anything that matters. I think what he's trying to say is people don't get you, Rob.
Oh.
They just don't understand you.
It's pretty simple. We dislike all of these people equally. We think if they're in the politics, our gut instinct is they are awful and they're trying to screw you over. Anytime we've ever gone on a limb and supported one of these people, they basically screwed us over. That's pretty much the theme of the show. We dislike all these people equally.
Okay, and the last Love Fest comment from Quiet Supernova.
Oh.
At producer Jason, legendary producer.
Yes.
At Rob Kendall, iconic host.
Yes, thank you.
There we go. That's we love those comments. Okay, now let's get on to the real meat here. Eric Knight, Rob, when are you going to go after Todd Young? I'm not sure there is a bigger rhino in the state.
Didn't we do some Todd Young stuff last week?
Last week, yeah.
I feel like we did.
You've not really been hammering Todd as much as, I shouldn't put it that way, but you've not been.
There's too many of these guys, right? It's like you can only pick so many of them. And look, Diego Morales is pulling BS on a daily basis, like right in front of everyone. So we have to talk about that.
Right.
And it's election season. I mean, look, maybe we should put Eric, and Eric's a great guy. He's a Brownsburg guy. Eric, I'm putting you in charge. When Todd Young does something stupid, it is your job to alert me so that we can potentially cover it. That's how we'll deal with Todd Young.
Rob will click the bell. And
Duke of Spendingburg.
There we go. Good morning, says Drain the Swamp. Mom did a great job on your shirt today.
Thank you.
There we go.
My mom actually came and got, for those of you who don't know, my mom, the reason my shirts look so nice, There was like one shirt in my closet that I did on my own. It's like I can see it. I know it every time because it looks so much worse.
Iron-free, wrinkle-free.
My mother, once a week, comes. I don't force her to do this, by the way. It's not like slave labor or anything. My mother comes once a week. She enjoys doing it. She gets my batch of shirts. She washes them. She irons them. That's why they look so good. That is because of my mom.
Jack the Libertarian back again. Can you donate through YouTube? I don't see the dollar sign.
We are not there yet. There's standards, right? In order to...
I don't think YouTube you can really do anything like that anyway. It's YouTube.
Yeah.
You can monetize, but that's
yeah.
not...
There's a way.
I mean, there are patronage.
We will get to all of those things right now. The most simplistic. Look,
I'm talking about if you just want to give us a buck or two.
Yeah, you got to go to robkendallshow.com. There's a support link there, and this is what we tell people. Jason works like 12 hours a day. So every day, that's what he does. I've told him, and you'll back me up on this. How many times have I told you have to slow down?
Well, that's
numerous times.
Would this show be as glorious as it is?
Jason puts way more effort into the show than I do. But yes, all of those things. But we are literally a two-man operation. That's what we talk about, like stretching the dollar, right? For every dollar you give us in support, we maximize it. It's two guys. We got the rent on the building, the equipment we got to buy.
In a room.
That's right. Yeah, that's going to be our business. But yes, we will get to all those things. For now, though, it's robkendallshow.com support button.
Okay, I'm gonna bang through a few of these because now we're on the topic of the school or of the voter ID for students, for college students.
Okay, so I'd assume most people heard that segment or you've heard it by this point if you're listening on demand. The college IDs were banned as a valid form of voter ID last year by the state. They're suing in court. We had a long discussion about that. Go.
Yeah, and they probably heard it because that's why they would have commented.
No, I'm saying for people who are listening now who may have not heard that earlier.
All the new tuning in folks. Okay, let's bang through a few of these. Witty reviews. Get a state ID or driver's license. It's literally that simple. Beth, many college students here are not U.S. citizens. W.M. Clark, I wonder how many college kids are getting in bars with fake driver's license. Or in Rob's case, it was a strip club.
Jason and I spent Christmas Eve at a strip club together one year. Remember that?
I snuck Rob into his first underage. Let him sneak into the DJ booth and peek over the top.
And my favorite part of that was people were looking at me like, he looks way too young, but nobody said anything.
No.
I feel like
I was the bouncer, too, so it was a split thing, so nobody...
Right. Forgot about that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Kyle Capron, what about our out-of-state students voting both in their home state and the state they're attending college? What about foreign students registering to vote? It's not a lot, but every vote does count.
Okay, let's roll. And I know you got more to get to, but let's
one more. The Jack Fobbs says, "Prove you are a United States citizen and get over it. Your comfort and ease is less important."
Okay, so we're mixing two things together here, and I think this is important. When we're talking about the college ID in order to vote, we're talking about at the physical poll itself. The voter registration is different than the actual act of voting. This is about the actual act of voting and comparing, are you the person that you're saying you are as you turn out to vote? The voter registration, there's all sorts of, when you go online, you fill all this stuff out, there's all sorts of hurdles for that. And yeah, it's totally legal to register to vote in two different places. If you did that, that's a serious crime. But that's not going to be solved by using your college ID anyway.
Well, when you were at Indiana State,
yeah,
you were a Brownsburg resident.
That's right.
You were registered to vote in Hendricks County.
That's right.
And of course, you could vote statewide. But let's say if you were out of state,
right?
So basically, you're required to go back to your hometown to vote or vote by mail. Right. Is that correct? Or can you vote?
No, you can't vote in two states.
Can't vote in two states.
Yeah, you got to pick one.
Well, if you're a Democrat, you can.
Well, look, and I think some of the commenters are right. Most college kids should have a driver's license. They make it easy enough that you should be able to get the other ones. My point on all this is they clearly targeted the college kids, not because they're worried about voter fraud, but because they vote Democrat. Let's just call it what it is, what they're doing here.
Easily influenced.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What else we got here? Okay, the Ballard interview.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to that. A lot of people felt like you were throwing some softball questions there, Rob. A couple people disappointed that you didn't really grill him. Not sure that was the point of the interview, but I assume you want to defend yourself.
Let me tell people how I do interviews, by the way, okay? my job with an interview is to tell you as much to a wide audience, right? He's running for statewide office. Some of the things that people are like, this specific thing in Indianapolis, that specific thing. We don't have 2 hours, unless you guys want me to spend 2 hours with him. I'm not sure he's going to stay here for 2 hours. We're talking to the entire state. And for you guys to form an opinion, you guys are smart. I've always said this. I'm going to ask broad questions unless it's a person there for a specific thing, for a specific policy, because we only have a certain amount of time. There's 20 things I want to get to. If we spend 10 minutes on one thing, we're not going to get to the rest of the stuff. I know there's things as mayor, so now you guys know. He told you what his great regret was. He told you what his biggest accomplishment was. If things like Blue Indy or these other things that bother you, which no problem with that, he doesn't consider them a regret. He's proud of them. He's not sorry about them. You can vote accordingly. I think you guys are smart. I don't think you need to go into intricate detail on every single topic because we'd only get to 3 things. As many things as we can, as broad as it is, and then you guys will take that information and make the right choice.
And you might take a minute to explain why you don't have a lot of Republicans on because they are afraid to come on.
Oh, totally. Now, look,
the invitation's always out there.
Right. We're going to issue one to Diego. You think he's going to accept that? Now, I'm sure Shelton will come in. We've issued one to Bo Bai. We've told Lori Schillings, she's the presumed Libertarian nominee, that once she's the nominee, we'll have her in. We're going to have all of these. Blythe Potter, we'll issue one to her. All of these people are going to come in. You're going to see the same type of interview. We're going to get to the broad stuff. If there's very specific things, we're going to get to those quick because we got people all over the state watching. And you got to remember, only people in Indianapolis are going to be, intricately familiar with or know the intricacies of those specific things.
Great comments today, guys. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Keeps the show going. Love reading those.
Awesome. All right. So, again, we'll have the Ballard interview posted if you want to see it, if you want to watch it, if you want to share it. We'll have the interview with Adam Wren posted. And then coming up later today, we will have for the first time the video edition of State House Happenings. We know you guys, there are many State House Happenings fans out there who love State House Happenings. We'll have that up as well. We're going to get to the tolling specifically. A lot of conversation about that. Where we go from there with that, we'll get into some of the Ballard stuff, the Republican response to that. State House Happenings will be available later today as well. You guys are the best audience in the whole world. I love you guys. And it's our show. We let people disagree with us. We let people say, hey, I didn't like the way you did it. We welcome all of that conversation. We are free speech people, and we appreciate you guys. So that is going to do it for us today. For producer Jason, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been watching Rob Kendall Show.